In this video, we're going to learn the basic major arpeggio over one octave, compare it to the minor arpeggio. We're going to explain what a major third is and a minor third is. And then we're going to take a very basic power chord progression and we're going to replace those power chords with some arpeggios, and we're going to see how we can use these arpeggios for lots of things, from finger discipline to ear training to creating riffs, etc, etc. But firstly, let's learn the major arpeggio shapes. I'm going to focus predominantly on my fretting hand now, and we're going to start off with an E major arpeggio. We're starting at fret number 7 on the 5th string, fret number 7 with the middle finger, finger number 2, and this note is E. Now it goes from this note to that note, which is fret number 6 on the 4th string, fret number 9 also on the 4th string, and onto the 9 again on the 3rd string. So slow motion, and we're going to bring it back. Now just some insight into what the major arpeggio is all about. It uses the first note of the major scale, the third note of the major scale, 1, 2, 3, that's the third note, first and third note, and then it includes the 5th note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's the 5th note there, fret number 9 on the 4th string, 1, 3, 5. The 1st, 3rd and 5th notes of the E major scale make up the E arpeggio or the E chord. And then the last note is going to be the octave, in other words, another E but just higher in pitch. Low E, high E. And octave means 8, so if you count 8 notes in the major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's your 8th note. So our arpeggio we're going to be learning is 1, 3, 5, 8. And then back again like that. A little bit faster. Now we're not going to go into the speed side of it right now. We want to first of all just learn a bit about the arpeggio. That being the major, we want to compare it to the minor, which is going to sound like this now. We say that the major has got a happy, positive sound, and the minor's got a sort of a darker, sadder sound to it. And you can hear the difference there. And what's separating the major from the minor is that the 3rd note has been flattened. So if you go back to the major scale, 1, 2, 3, and I take that 3rd note and lower it or flatten it, I get this note, which I put there because the stretch, that's really not comfortable. This just makes a lot more sense. With this, big stretch, smaller stretch. Okay, so there's your minor, 1st, flattened 3rd note. The 5th note is still the same, and then we still got the octave. So just quick recap: major arpeggio, positive, happy, uses notes 1, 3, 5 and the octave from the major scale. Minor, sort of darker, more melancholy, more sad. 1, flat 3, flattened 3rd, 5 octave. And there you have it. Now we're going to look into how to take this into a basic progression. Like we said, E5, we're going to put a C5, which is by fret number 3, 1st finger tapping number 3, 3rd fret, same strings, and we're going to go from the C5 to fret number 5, also on the same string, for a D5. So it's E5, C5, and I want you to play that along with me just to get the rhythm to sort of create a sort of a sound, a vibe, a sort of a chord progression, and we're going to see how we can take it out of that. And we're looking at a typical sort of retro 80s hard rock sort of vibe. So it's and just on slow motion on the strumming technique, for those who don't like to get it, it's down, up with the chord ringing, and then you're going to have a triplet, 1, 2, 3, which is the muted root note or the bass note of the chord. And you do it twice. it sounds quite sweet. Now it's basically triplets. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, etc. So if you keep the triplet in mind, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and you actually got the same rhythm happening. So if you focus a bit more onto the shape now, E minor, we're going to convert the E5 into, and you get your E minor arpeggio, 1, 3, 5. Sounds quite cool. We're going to convert the C5 and the D5 to C major and D major. And all that's really happening there, if you notice, is that we simply taking the major shape and starting it on a different note. That note I'm fretting now is C, which we used for C5. That note is D, which we used for D5. And I'm going. And there I've got my arpeggios, C major, D major. So I've taken E5, C5, D5 into E minor, C major, D major. And that's a typical sort of Iron Maiden sort of hard rock sort of vibe. So slow motion, we can have this. Or I can change it. In fact, I can do anything I like with it as long as I've got those notes. And there basically you've taken my E minor and put it into a riff. On the C and the D. Okay. And I can create riffs like that. There's no rule that says how I must do it or what sequence of notes, as long as I'm using the notes that make up those chords. So it's quite cool. Or I can just arpeggiate it. Also sounds quite cool. So there's no limits as to what we can do with this. So what you need to get from this video, what you need you to learn, is that this is the minor shape. This is the major shape. And that we can use them wherever we like. So if I decide to change my chord progression, if I want to go A minor to D minor to G major to C major, so I'm going A minor, D minor, G, C, F, B flat, E, A. I could actually do this. And I was going to sit and get my guitar a bit more into focus here so you can see the shapes a bit better. And here's my A minor. I can play it using the octave. And I can do whatever I like. I can reverse it. There's no wrong way to do this, so I need to encourage you to experiment, know the shapes. So one last time, E minor, E major, and from wherever I started, if I started from here, that's a G, G major, on a D minor. So it's about the shapes creating the chord type, in other words, major type or minor type, and it's where do I play the chord from. And that actually works quite nice. It's basically what I wanted you to know. You've learned your minor shape, your major shape, and you've learned that they are built from the root note. So the root note determines it. One last time, let's take a B flat minor. Here's B flat. You can do it there. And you've got your minor shape. I've got a B flat major. You can hear the difference in the sound. So learn your shapes, get to know your notes on the guitar neck, and try and substitute your power chords like we did with some arpeggios. You can get some pretty funky, some pretty cool riffs the whole way through. over there we put a minor seventh inside, but we're not going into that for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Any questions on arpeggios? Don't hesitate to ask, and later we can look at some nice 2 octaves, we can look at sweep picking, some finger tap arpeggios, and we can expand from there. But for now, that's your introduction to arpeggios.